Okay, how's everybody doing? All right, I needed some real chocolate, so I figured you guys would need some too. It'll be here after class, and if I didn't get you a pen, I will definitely get it to you. Thank you, Miss Deanna, for that lovely introduction. I said I don't need the microphone, but can everybody hear me in the back? All right, yeah, see, it's that Army thing. We yell a lot. You know, that's the only thing I brought into retirement. So, like Ms. Deanna said, we implemented and got Qualtrax. We started the process of getting it in December of 2017, and we actually implemented it in June. And it actually only took us a month, but I was already prepped and ready at the end of 2017. My bosses just had to pay for it. So our hero for GBRA is definitely Qualtrax. And I didn't come from an environmental place, but in dealing with 170205, it is a lot of stuff to track. For you quality managers that are doing it alone, I have mad respect for you because it is a lot without and just doing it manually. So who we are, I call it GBRA affectionately. It was formed in 1933 by the Texas legislature, and we do water supply and water conservation, drinking water and wastewater. And I wish I would have brought my one boss with me because he does this demonstration where wastewater goes in and supposed to get cleaner, right? But it's supposed to come out so clean. Still a little dirty, but it comes out clean, and he'll drink it because of one of the filters that we use. And I see a lot of quality people going, no, no. And I told them I would tell that story because I tried it, and the water did taste okay, but it still was scary. My mind said all the microbes that I now know are in water or can be in water are in there. So our authority extends 10 counties in a 10-county district in Texas, from the Guadalupe-Blanco rivers, from the headwaters down to the San Antonio Bay. So it's a pretty wide area. And our general office is located in Seguin, Texas. It's a nice little country town. I love it. I'm from New Jersey, but decided to live in Texas because my check went a lot further, right? But if you ever come out that way, it's close to San Antonio, about a couple hours away from Houston. But we're moving our headquarters to New Braunfels because we've outgrown Seguin, the little town feel. But the lab will still stay in Seguin, so I'm excited about that. So our accreditation, who we are, we are NELAP accredited, so TNI and TCQ. And we follow ISO 17025, and we're still accredited. This is my staff. Kylie Guzzo is our laboratory director. She's been there the longest. She's been there going on like 12 years. She's a young lady, and some of the people I've talked to, I said most of my staff, I'm 48, all of them are under 30. So we have a pretty young staff. Jennifer Sanchez, she's our project manager, so she deals with the customers. We only have one person talking to the customers because that was an issue for that laboratory. And again, I got there in 2017 and made some changes because I didn't want to get hit on the audits again. And of course, that's me. And then this is our analyst. So we only have 5. So like I said, we're a really small lab. If you notice, we're all females, but we all get along. So it's okay. We don't have any fights or anything. But the senior analyst here is Miliana Hernandez, and she has an engineering degree. So everybody has a Bachelor's of Science degree or above, and GBRA is really good about supporting continuing education. So in the beginning, I know all of us have been there, all those documents. When I got to GBRA and, you first get to a place, the Army had taught me just go in, calm, look at everything, don't try to go in with the hammer and, change everything. They showed me like 10 file cabinets that were like stuffed. The girl had to like shove herself to open it and close it. I said, and you have to get these documents for the auditor? She said, yeah. I said, are they organized? She said, kinda. So I was like, well, who was your QAO before? Oh, that person left, and then that person left. And then, so the job had just been passed around. Nobody really wanted the job. And that's a lot of documents. Even for our small lab, I know a lot of you labs are bigger than mine, but that's a lot of documents. And then 260 bench sheets. They had a bench sheet for everything instead of combining some processes to make it easier. So the document management, it was crazy. And then we had 4 share drives, 4. So one was for this, and then one was for this, and one was for this. And people were making copies of copies of copies of copies. You didn't know what the right SOP was. And that was the biggest thing. When I looked at the last 3 audits, internal and statewide, that TCQ, the state did, they had dings on SOPs. A lot of them. And I was like, we don't want to get a critical finding on that. In the Army, we had a homegrown system that was similar to Qualtrax, not as awesome as Qualtrax at all, but I was looking and searching for it, and I saw some other people, and then I got in touch with Eric from Austin Utility. Woohoo! So he let me go and actually see his system. He had just got it, or Eric, it was a little while you were implementing. And because I was that person, my staff, my management was like, we're going to spend this money. It's a lot of money, right? And we're a small lab. Is it going to work? And some of you have implemented LIMS systems, those laboratory information management systems. Some of them aren't great, and we don't have a great one. So I'm asking for another software system for our team, and the other one they got wasn't too great. That was prior to me being there. So I said, okay, let me see if it works. I'll go to a real customer because Qualtrax people are so great. Carrie was so great. But I want to see what a real customer says. And Eric showed me everything. I would have thought that he was an IT guy, and that's what I wanted to be. For Qualtrax, you don't have to be an IT person. And a lot of the systems you do. And that's what I was like, oh, yeah, he's a good dude. He's teaching me stuff. Do you work for Qualtrax? I asked him, right? So afterwards, we had a personnel turnover because of that change, and everybody kept, oh, my God, I don't want to deal with the lateral file cabinets, all the share drives, and just moving to a new company. Well, the deputy lab director was the one that ended up doing the QAO stuff. Anybody know why that's a bad idea? What'd you say, ma'am? Oh, conflict of interest all the way, I tell you. And we did have a conflict of interest because the deputy lab director became so because, we had some issues with the lab director and that QAO position. So you really shouldn't, the lab director or the director should not be the quality person because sometimes the lab director wants the lab to be great. The quality assurance person is there to say, not so much. So which role are you going to take if you're doing both? So with Qualtrax coming on, SOPs weren't completed. But prior to that, they weren't completed, and we were short-staffed. We already had 8 people, but again, we had people with dual hats. Sometimes they weren't there. Equipment, hardware, software, updates. Most of our equipment was back from 1997, and so you know how old that can be. And software upgrades don't happen that often, or you have to pay for them. So we were really in a pickle. We were still passing their accreditation, though, surprisingly to me. So I was happy about that. I said, we got there, the little engine that could, but I want the engine to be a little bit better. So this was our document approval process prior to Qualtrax. And yeah, right? Just looking at that makes you like, I want another cup of coffee or lunch again, right? Or something stiffer. But it would go through all these people. And what the issue would be is that it would go to the deputy lab director or whoever was wearing the QAO hat at that time. Then it would go to that supervisor. And then it'd sit on their desk. And then they'd forget. Papers are on top of it. Oh, yeah, I did it. I signed it. Vacation comes. It's not signed. So we had a lot of findings that were because the SOP was signed by 2 people, but not all 3 on our approval page. So all that testing that we had done in that time period had to be qualified. You know that for any company, that's not great, but especially for us being accredited and dealing with drinking water and wastewater. So we had to send out a lot of boiled water notices. That was before my time. But I said, I don't want that to happen again. Why did it happen? I like to see process improvement. So that could take 2, 3, 4, 5 months to get one SOP done. That was crazy. And this is what they look like. So, really? Like if that person goes, I know whose signature that is, but if somebody else came in behind us, who is that person? I don't know. It's a scribble, scrabble signature. But that's what they had. And then again, we signed it all on the same day that time. But here we didn't. It was signed, oh yeah, it was approved, and then the preparer didn't sign it until after we signed it. How'd that happen? I don't know. That's because it was on somebody's desk for a while, and then they were like, hey, it needs to be signed, the audit's coming. So I was honest with the auditor. I was like, you're going to find a lot of these, so just like get your ticker out and count how many, because there were so many. So where we wanted to go, I knew that being in the military and having a homegrown system like Qualtrax, that there was a way that we can have an electronic system, but I didn't know it was going to be as awesome as Qualtrax. I dream. That's why they wanted me to speak, because I've stayed this excited all the time. And so I'm not the guru for Qualtrax. I'm just excited of the functionality of it. But we wanted a computer-based quality management system we could use without having programming expertise. Like I saw Eric, I was like, if he could do it, I could do it. I was in the Army, I could do it, right? Pre-configured template solutions, SOPs, cars, workflows, all that good stuff, because it was already made. Like my mom said, work smart, not hard, so I'll steal your stuff and, give you credit at the bottom in the credits, right? So we had all the best in-class workflows, so that was awesome. And rapid deployment of the system, and I'll show you our calendar and what Ms. Deanna said. We implemented within a month time frame from project kickoff to where the system was actually live. That was kind of fast, but like again, I say, I was ready back in December, so I was already kind of staging my documents. And then keep all the documents in one place and have an improved document retrieval and traceability for the staff, and of course for the auditor. At the end of the day, you want the auditor to sit and be calm and cool. The auditor I had recently, when we got our concurrence letter, God bless her, but she really didn't like Qualtrax too much. And that was fine. I showed it to her. It did make it into the audit that she knew that we were going to an electronic, system, but she wanted to see the paper. And I understand that that's going to be, kind of like people using computers and using smartphones. I have a friend that he still has an old phone. He doesn't have, it's not smart at all. I think it's one of those big old school phones like we used to have.
If it makes you feel better, the same lady made a finding on us that we used the word attached, SOP.
Oh, yes. So you can.
And it was electronic.
She
something staple clipped.
Attached.
So we have to change the word in our SOP from attached to referenced.
Referenced.
That was a finding.
That was a finding. Oh my God, right? God bless her. I got my concurrence letter, right? But I asked her though why she didn't like it. She just wasn't yet in the buy-in and having the knowledge of what a system like Qualtrax could do. I think I educated her a little bit, but I was talking to Karen at lunch, and I think that's a good thing. Maybe Qualtrax could give a webinar or something to those auditors because they don't understand. They think we have the control and there's no other system. Like I can change everything. No, I can't. If I put a document in there, the document ID is going to be in there and the whole time till I retire it, till it goes away. So I can't change that. She didn't understand that. She thought we were doing some, stuff. So instead of asking for 18 stuff, we went back to 2017, 2016. She left with 3 banker's boxes full of files, which was awesome. But God bless her, right? And then the documents will be kept up to date and revisions are tracked to help with audit readiness and reduce publication errors. I asked my staff before when I was shopping around for Qualtrax, I wanted to know, what's your biggest thing? And like you saw, my staff is young, under 30. They want it quick, fast, let us fix it. And God bless me, because they all are process improvers. They look at what situation they have, and they want to make it better. A lot of people are afraid of that. I'm never the smartest person in the room. I like the smart people. Show me what you got, and I'm going to tell you. Let's see if it'll work. The one I'll say for reduced publication errors in the date and revision, one of the analysts, Brandy, we do a test called total suspended solids. And we were doing it with the old school crucible. So a crucible is like a little porcelain cup. And we had about 18 or 20 of them she had to carry on the tray that was filled to the top to the incubator to put it in, right, for the test. So this was my first days of watching this. I'm like, wow. If she spills any of it, she has to start over. If this happens, if she puts it in an incubator, it's wrong. I was like, is there another way to do this? We're spending a lot of money on these crucibles. And she was taking such careful time walking and carrying these crucibles, she was getting overtime. And you say, oh, that's crazy. But it's really that serious because you don't have another time to do that test. You want to get it and evaluate it as soon and test it as soon as you get it. So I said, hey, can you find another process? She got online, and there's these little TSS baggies that you can use. And you put them in the baggie, it's some kind of quick rig, put it in the incubator, you pull it out, do your time, it's done. She saved us about, maybe about $8,000, including her time. So, of course, my bosses were happy with that, So sometimes you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. And her SOP was done for that in about 4 days through Qualtrax, which was amazing, when it would take months for us to do them before. So this was our implementation timeline. Like I said, we kicked off here on May 1st, and that was a teleconference, just, hey, how you doing, how are things? And then on-site training, the system was set up on the 8th. I could do things and run things, and I was so happy. I was wanting to put everything in there right then. Patrick told me, slow down, right? Then Patrick came May 15th, 16th, and he did on-site training. On-site training was probably the best thing. I'm farther along. I took a lot of the basic courses here, thinking I didn't know too much, but I'm sitting in the classes like, hey, I know that. I feel pretty good. I can move up to intermediate level because I still remember some of the stuff from Patrick's training. Also, he trained my staff, my management team, and then he taught me how I could train my staff. And when I was ready for them to take over and how to check things in and check things out, yeah, it's web-based, but you want them to make sure they're comfortable with it because it's a new system. And then we did a post-training check-in. We did a few of those just to make sure everything was going well. And I started copying files in May, and then we were ready. When I trained my staff here on June 22nd, we were ready to go. We were ready to go on I didn't know at that date what date our audit was going to be with TCQ, but it ended up being in October. So we were ready. I was ready. I was happy. Qualtrax is beautiful, peeps. So what we gained with Qualtrax, one full-time QAO, that's me. And the deputy lab director can focus on her own duties, like pay and, getting new equipment and that kind of stuff, instead of what kind of cars do we have and what SOPs aren't finished. That's her lane, but not her lane to do hands-on. She should have the overview of that. And then, of course, document management. We got those pre-configured templates, and I've been giving my business cards out like crazy and asking people for theirs because I like to share. If I have it and you want it, you can have it. Let's share. Because if the wheel's already made, why make it again? And the Texas A&M team, we have to get that workflow. You should pay them for that because that's an awesome one. If you weren't in their class, it was where the workflow going through an audit, you can click on the car and then it'll pull all that stuff up for you. Auditors love that. They said the auditors smile when they do their audits now. That's where I want to be. Rapid deployment and reduced implementation time. I think a month was kind of fast, but I was so excited. I was working, not getting paid overtime because I was that excited about it. That was that Army thing. I thought I was getting paid in my mind. Better supportability and automatic upgrades. We did the hosted system, and that was the thing I had to talk to my management about because that was a little bit more money. But we got the automatic upgrades. And then I had that failed laboratory information management system, that LIMS, that every time they wanted to fix something, it was $1,500. $1,500. That's if they wanted to move a decimal somewhere, $1,500. That it didn't do auto sum for some of our instruments. That was $1,500. So they thought it was going to be like that. I was like, if we do the hosted system, we'll get everything they got real time. We'll be fine. So that's why we went with hosted. Our error rate reduced greatly. The wrong copy was never published. You didn't have to hide old SOPs or ones that weren't, like I was kicking a couple, like, oh, I'm sorry, don't worry about that. Not having all the signatures like you saw or getting it a month later, that's crazy, right? And then header typos, they would spell, the process used to be several analysts would work on the SOP. Everybody has their own writing style. Everybody doesn't like to use spell check, right? But some people didn't even know how to spell Guadalupe where they work. So I was looking at a lot of the headers and the footers, and I was like, I don't know what company this is. This is crazy. And one was in there when she was there, and I kindly just put my thumb over the misspelling. But she caught me. Header typos and notification errors. Responsibility and accountability rests with the employee. My team, like they're young, they're go-getters, they want to be accountable. They like the talk that Mr. Jeff did earlier, they want to be accountable. They want to say, hey, what's my lane? What do I do? What can I do? So the pick-up sign-out thing for test and training, they love it. They know they have ownership. They know that they come and say, you know what, I think there's a quicker way we can do this process, and I'll hear them out, and management will hear them out, and then we could try to work it out. A lot of times we work them through the workflows. I'm a baby workflow worker, though. When I need help with workflows, I call Eric, so because he's awesome with them. But that process in Qualtrax actually helps us think and do the root cause and analysis and where we want to go. And I love that. And it's also teaching them how to be managers, which a lot of times, a lot of people don't want to take the time to teach young people to be managers. You just can't wake up and be a manager one day. And then the return signing process, again, that accountability. So people were asking me, do my staff like getting the emails? Do they like getting the notifications? They do, because it's like a game for them. They're like, oh my God, I have 5 things in my inbox. I need to get them done. It's like a competition between them, which I love. I'm thinking, great, stay like that, right? Because I know the real deal. Most of us get that blindness, I got, 25 things. I'll do 5 of them, and then what's the real due date of that? So I love that my staff is like that. So where we're headed, Aquaman, I didn't want to put Jason Momoa up there because I know I didn't want to make you guys cry, So this is our old SOP. here, and that was just craziness because the names and then the heading was very confusing. This is our new SOP header that we currently have in Qualtrax, and with Patrick's help, he very well articulated what I was trying to say. I was like, I need the old SOP number on the new SOP. That's all I knew how to say. So we came up with this pre-Qualtrax revision number because that traceability, going from that paper and then putting it in that electronic system, how do you know that what was the last version of that? They want to see that traceability, that connectivity. So that's how we came up with that pre-Qualtrax revision number. I think you could call it anything. It's a custom field that you can make, and the auditor, she did love that part. Yeah, she did love that part, even though she didn't look at half of those new ones, right? But she loved it because of the traceability portion. And of course, the footer, we just had that, and the staff was telling me that printed documents are supposed to be controlled documents. I came from a medical lab where that wasn't the case. We could print anything we wanted. The QAO had the main copy. So I was like, that's crazy. You guys might need to print one page or so. So again, with Patrick's help, we came up with the printed documents are considered uncontrolled documents. I saw another members, they had warning, it's only good for 24 hours, or warning, printed documents aren't uncontrolled documents. That's a great thing, because then they will always go to Qualtrax and print out the most up-to-date version. They'll always have it. And that's a good thing. And then if the auditor comes and I have a piece of paper laying down, she goes, oh, this doesn't have a number. Oh my God, because you didn't print the first page of it. Well, it's uncontrolled, sweetie, calm down. We're good. So external audit, the management system. So management, the clause 4 and the technical for clause 5, this was my main part, and this is where we're headed. This is where I want to go. And that's why I love the Texas A&M presentation, because I'm just going to grab that workflow. It does everything that I already lined out. So we want to do document control. Everybody knows we got to do the management review. These are like the have-tos. And what I looked at in our system, this was the hard part for my lab to comply with the auditor, especially the management review. And proficiency testing and corrective actions. They were doing corrective actions by hand, not even in the computer. Somebody was writing it and then scanning it and then rescanning it. So one corrective action would have maybe 25, maybe 30 pieces of paper. That's crazy. And then it wasn't all written by the same person, dates and signatures. We know how we can be with that. So I was like, I have get something better. So Qualtrax has that for me. So I know that's a little jumbled for you, but that is the clause for management requirements. And I'm going to build this out. All right. So what the arrows are showing here is that you could take what your requirements are, and this is a snapshot of my system. So in the management review, I'm going to have the management system. And then for purchasing and supplies, I'm going to have that purchasing folder. So when she's asking me for those requirements, I'll be able to click right to them and pull up whatever's needed. Workflows are good for like improvements and corrective actions, preventive actions. The Texas A&M folks had a nice one. They had their corrective action and preventive action together. I'm thinking about that, but I don't think my girls think that fast yet. So I think I might keep them separate, but that was an awesome idea. And then of course, control of records, that master document list, all that kind of stuff in your control documents. Qualtrax and some of the lab, because we do still print something. It's not going to make you get away from all your paper, but at least the paper that you print and that you have will be the most up-to-date stuff that you have, which is always an awesome thing for when you have an auditor or your boss or anybody coming by to check on you. And then again, internal audits, the workflow thing. And then up here where I have the organization, that's dropped down to water testing. And I didn't want to build that all out for you, but that's where my org chart is, what we do, who we are as an organization. You have to have your job descriptions in there and all that good stuff. I see a lot of head nods, so you know where I'm going with that. And then the technical requirements, and I'm going to build this one out too. All right, so training module is definitely what actually Patrick just went over for personnel. So the things that you can train your staff on, if you got SOPs, that you want them to acknowledge, you can use that training module, personnel and general stuff. Accommodation and environmental conditions for the lab, you can go deal with deviations or any of those other folders, but I put it in deviations because a lot of times if something's not accommodated or there's some kind of change, it's deviation from something. So that's in that folder. Test methods and validation, we got to have that measurement of uncertainty. So it kind of matches up and lines up so I can find it easy for her, and that traceability and calibration, that's in my QA and QC folder. So again, it's also easy for my staff to find, to let them know where their stuff needs to be so we can be on point anytime when we need an audit. I want to be audit prep ready all the time, and Qualtrax lets me be that. And in summary, how? I went from a manual document control system to a complete automated quality management system. Information retrieval is awesome. Qualtrax is hands down the best system I've ever seen. And I talk to everyone that wants to call me, talk to me about it, share workflows, because I think we're building our own community, quality community here, because we get it right here, is that it's not just a document control system, it's a management system. That's what I really like about it, because that's what I am. It says officer, but I'd rather be a quality assurance manager. I'm managing those things, and I have this great tool to help me do it. The workflows, the track changes to assist in the traceability of information of audits. I love that part. I did test this with my staff before I came to the conference, and I said, okay, I want you to be able to see if you can see the view track changes. We printed that one out. Then we said, okay, I want to see a short markup. We did that as well. So that's really awesome. So if you have that auditor, like the one I had, and she still wants to see, the hard data, like back in those, the bubbles all through Word, I'll be able to give that to her with a smile, with a couple clicks in Qualtrax.